So UFC 318, Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway 3 is taking place this weekend, and I, Tony has died, I'm going to be going through the entire card, giving my breakdown on who I think is going to win the fight. And overall, this is a really good card, man. We got the legend Daniel Rodriguez in the feature fight. We got Michael Johnson on the main card. We got legends like Jimmy Crute, Adam Fugit. This card sucks. I'm gonna be honest, bro. This is like an Apex card with Dustin and Max as the headliner. This could have been a fight night, and I don't think anyone would be complaining. But the fact that this is a pay-per-view and I'm gonna have to pull up my fucking Stream East to get this up is ridiculous, all right? But yeah, I just don't like the quality of this card. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit more in another video, but let's get straight into this, starting with the first fight on the card. Carly Judis versus Nicole Kellari. I'm going to be picking Carly Judis to win this fight. She is a striker. She has shown that the ability to stuff takedowns in the past. She's had some close fights even in her losses. She really could be 3-0 in the UFC right now. Nicole, she just kind of fucking sucks. She's a grappler, but I don't think she's going to be able to get her takedown, so I think Carly will get this one done. Next fight on the card, Bruno Ferrer versus Jackson McVey. Now, Jackson McVey was originally supposed to step in at UFC 317 and fight Cedric Dumas on short notice, just to add a little bit more fluff to that card. Unfortunately, he was not able to have that fight because Cedric Dumas had to pull out of the fight because he got caught hiding in a dog pen. Bruno Ferreira was originally supposed to fight Ikram Aliskerov, but Ikram pulled out with an injury. Bruno still wanted to get a paycheck. Jackson McVey said, fuck it, I'll fight Bruno Ferreira, so now this fight is happening. I think that Bruno Ferreira is going to knock out Jackson McVey, which kind of sucks for Jackson because he had a pretty winnable fight in Cedric Dumas for his debut, but Bruno Ferreira, he is someone that has been at the top of this division for a long time. Beat Armin Petrosian. He has a win over RoboCop, if I'm not mistaken. Dustin Stoltzfus, this guy's a marauder. Bruno Ferreira, he kind of just walks forward and brings violence, and I think that will be able to kind of just stop Jackson McVey, who he's a good fighter. He's been beating some decent competition compared to some of other people. He beat a guy that's 4-1. He beat a guy that's 3-2. Overall, I don't know if Jackson McVey is just ready for this big of a step up this fast. So I'm going to be picking Bruno Ferreira to knock out Jackson McVey in the first round. Next fight on the card, we got Ryan Spann versus Lucas Brzeski. Now, how good is Lucas Brzeski to be able to defeat Walter Walker? He might be the most... I'm kidding. Lucas Brzeski sucks. His win over Walter Walker is a fluke. I feel like Walter Walker is going to go on to be a really good fighter in the UFC heavyweight division, and it will kind of become a meme like, is Lucas Brzeski the GOAT? You know, because he's so terrible. He literally gets knocked out in every single fight. He has no chin. And Ryan Spann, he also fucking sucks. He kind of proved he couldn't fight at the light heavyweight division. You know, he lost to Anthony Smith twice, which is crazy to be 0-2 to Anthony Smith. But he beat Ovince St. Preux, kind of just bum rushed him. I think that Ryan Spann will be able to get this fight done. I'm going to pick knockout first round. I could see this going to a decision if Ryan Spann just turns out to be even worse than we thought he was. You know, his fight to Waldo Cortez Acosta, he got knocked out. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he's a pretty good fighter at heavyweight. I'm not going to hold that against him too heavily, bro. But, you know, you can kind of look at the people that Lucas Brzeski's been losing to, and you could say, these people aren't too bad, honestly. You know, Waldo Cortez Acosta again, Mick Parkin, and Kennedy Nzechukwu, even though we just saw Kennedy get subbed by Walter, which is kind of funny. Violence triangle right there, Walter Walker, Kennedy Nzechukwu, Lucas Brzeski, you know, this is the hierarchy of MMA math. I just think that Ryan Spann's going to spark him out cold. He's been knocked out too many times recently. He's more athletic than him. He's faster than him. He has the ground if he wants to go to the ground. Now, I was thinking this could go to a decision if Ryan Spann just starts taking him down or whatever, but I think Lucas Brzeski will get knocked out because he has no chin. So the next fight on the card, we got Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Parachnio. I'm going to be picking Marchin Patchio to win this fight. My first underdog pick of the card. I understand that he's 37 years old. And I understand that Jimmy Crute is 29 and he's had some close fights. He has 2 draws. Like he has a draw to Rodolfo Bellato where he 10-8'd Bellato in the first round and then he just kind of got pieced up by him on the feet for the next 2 rounds. I understand that, you know, he went to a close fight with Alonzo Minifield. But at the end of the fucking day, Jimmy Crute has not won a fight since, I'm pretty sure 2021, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even 2020. He's retired and he's come back. I don't like his mentality. I feel like Jimmy Crute is here because he has to be here because he has no other path in life, not because he wants to be here and achieve greatness. Marchin Patchio, he's a pretty well-rounded fighter. I do think that he'll be able to just kind of tit-tat, push the pace on Jimmy Crute. And I'll say this, if Marchin Patchio starts having success in this fight, I don't think Jimmy Crute is the type of person to try to overcome that success. I don't think he has the mentality. Honestly, that's the main thing I'm kind of worried about is his mentality going into this fight because he literally retired. He's came back for the money, you know. I just don't like Jimmy Crute in this fight. I think he really sucks. He's like 0-5 or whatever. I know I've mentioned that like 3 times, but I just don't think he has the dog in him that he did back in the day. This guy literally lost to Anthony Smith via knockout. Lost to Jamal Hill. And in hindsight, bro, that's really bad. At least Marchin Patchio is beating people like Devin Clark. Beating people like William Knight. Jimmy Crute's not even beating the fucking Anthony Smiths of the world, bro. I'm going to be picking Marchin Patchio. I got a couple of underdogs on this card, so stay tuned for those. Next fight on this card, this is an easy, the Mog. This guy literally looks like the fucking Giga Chad meme, bro. He's like a fucking Dagestani Giga Chad, literally just mogging. This guy's a male model. I didn't know if you guys knew that, but he literally is a male model. Islam Dulattov versus Adam Fugit, bro. Adam Fugit's getting fucking knocked out, alright? Now, he had a crafty win against Josh Quinlan where he kind of just brought in some smoke and fire and showed Josh Quinlan levels, man. He really just kind of just elevated the levels, man. He just showed why he's Adam Fugit and why he's Josh Quinlan. But this ain't no Josh Quinlan. Basically undefeated. He has 1 loss. Islam Dulattov coming off of a brutal KO in his Dana White's Contenders Series fight. This is his debut. This is just a layup, bro. I feel like they think that Islam is very marketable. They are taking Adam Fugit and sacrificing him to the wolves, to the dogs. The matchmakers know what they're doing with this one. I find it very interesting how, you know, this guy's representing Germany. The only 2 German UFC fighters are Abus Magomedov and Islam Dulattov. Where are the Klauses at? Where are the Kettners at? You know, we don't got any real Germans. Like, where are they at? I'm not saying like he's not a real German or whatever, but I'm just saying, why are all the Germans just Dagestanis? And why are all the French people just Dagestanis, you know? So, yeah, man. I'm going to be picking Islam Dulattov to win this. He has pretty good striking. He'll just go out there and knock out Adam Fugit, who sucks. Next fight on this card, we got a Tiba Goautier versus Robert Valentine. I'm going to be picking a Tiba Goautier to knock out Robert Valentine. Now, I do think that Robert Valentine won his fight with Torres Finney. You could make an argument that he won all 3 rounds of that fight just because Torres Finney was doing everything in his power to not fight Robert Valentine, which is... I like Torres Finney because he was built funny. I thought he was going to be a funny guy to kind of get behind, but now I just hate Torres Finney with a burning passion. Fuck you, Torres Finney. Fuck you, Finbo, alright? But the UFC knows what they're doing with this matchup. Tiba Goautier is the most jacked human being in the UFC right now. He's 23 years old. He's from Cameroon. He's just pure, raw power. He has all knockouts. He's on like a 7-fight knockout streak or something like that. I'm telling you right now, Tiba Goautier is going to brutally knock out Robert Valentine in the first round. Robert Valentine, he kind of has this style similar to like Marc-Andre Barrieu, if you guys know who that is, except the fact that he literally has no chin whatsoever. So he wants to go out there and just brawl. He's kind of like, Cody Garbrandt just went out there and just wanted to sling in the pocket. That's what this Robert Valentine guy does, except he literally has no chin. So I'm going to be picking a Tiba Goautier to knock out Robert Valentine in the first round. The next fight on the card, we got Francisco Praau versus Nikolai Vertnikov. I'm going to be picking Francisco Praau to win this fight by decision. Now, when I talk about this UFC card being low quality, these are the kind of fights that I'm talking about. That, like, this belongs in a fucking Apex card, bro. Like, this does not need a fucking crowd. Like, this guy lost to Jake Matthews, lost to Zell Huber, lost to Jamie Malarkey, which is crazy. And then this guy lost to Oscar Vanderford, and he lost to Danny Barlow. Now, the split decision with Danny Barlow makes me kind of want to pick Vertnikov, but then I look at his age. He's 35 years old, almost 36 years old. He's not getting any better. You look at some of his, I just don't think that he's going to make any changes from this fight against Vanderford in the fight with Praau. And I think that Praau, he's 23 years old. He's going to be able to switch up some things. The fight with Jake Matthews, I'm pretty sure he won one of the rounds against Jake Matthews, if I'm remembering this fight correctly. That's not a bad look. I think that he could do that twice in a round. I think he could do that for 2 rounds and beat Vertnikov. So I'm going to be picking Francisco Praau to win this fight. The next fight on the card, for some reason, is not even the featured prelim, is Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. I'm going to be picking another underdog, Marvin Vettori. How the fuck is that even a question? I'm going to be picking Marvin Vettori to beat Brendan Allen. Now, if you guys didn't know, this fight is actually a rematch because these guys actually ended up fighting each other in a casino, and Brendan Allen landed some good shots against Marvin Vettori in the casino fight, and Marvin Vettori ate them hoes, right? And the reason I'm going to be picking Vettori in this fight is this. Is Brendan Allen a better striker than Marvin Vettori? Yes, he is. Is Brendan Allen a better grappler than Marvin Vettori? Yes, he is a better grappler. But at the end of the day, Brendan Allen is terrible, and he fucking sucks. The Chris Curtis fight, we just saw Chris Curtis go to a split decision with Max Griffin. And now, 3 fights ago, not even a year ago, Brendan Allen went to a split decision with Chris Curtis. It really just shows me the level that Brendan Allen is at in his career. His win streak coming up was not even that good. He beat Bruno Silva. He beat Smiling Sam Alvey, I think. He beat Paul Craig, and he beat one other person that sucks. So his climb to get ranked isn't even that good. He lost to Imavov, got absolutely destroyed by Imavov, and got absolutely destroyed by Fluffy Hernandez. Now, I agree. Brendan Allen is a better striker than Marvin, and he's a better grappler than Marvin. But do I think that he is so much better of a grappler or striker that he's going to be able to implement it in? No, I don't think so, bruh. Because I think that Marvin Vettori is really good at stuffing takedowns. So Brendan Allen, I think this fight will be on the feet. I don't think that Brendan Allen's going to be able to finish Marvin Vettori. He'll land strikes on him, but he's not going to drop Marvin Vettori. This is going to be a classic Marvin Vettori fight. Marvin Vettori is 31 years old. He's not an unk. He's not like he's 35 and he's on the decline and it's like, oh, this is the end of Marvin Vettori's career. Marvin Vettori is going to eat Brendan Allen's shots. He's going to push him against the fence, and Brendan Allen is going to quit. Because at the end of the day, Brendan Allen is an idiot. His fight IQ is so bad. You have to be an idiot for Marvin Vettori to have better fight IQ than you, which he does. So I think that Marvin Vettori is going to come into this fight with a game plan, know what he wants to do to win this fight. He's going to walk forward. He's going to eat Brendan Allen's best shots. You got to remember, Marvin Vettori had Cannonier wobbling and bobbling around in the first round. He rocked Roman Dolidze in their fight. Had some success in the Whitaker fight, kind of. But at the end of the day, bro, I just think that Marvin Vettori, he is more experienced in the fact that he has fought higher level fighters and had competitive moments with those fighters. And Brendan Allen, he beat a bunch of cans to get ranked, and his fight IQ is abysmal. All right, so For those reasons, I'm picking Marvin Vettori. I just think that he'll be able to eat Brendan Allen's best shots, land shots of his own, push Brendan Allen against the cage, kind of stall for time, and yeah, man, he'll be able to eat Brendan Allen's best shots and land his own. So I'm picking Marvin Vettori to win this fight by decision. Next fight on the card, we got Venicious Olivera versus Kyler Phillips. Now, Venicious Olivera, he's been posting some very sus things on Instagram. I don't know if you guys follow this guy on Instagram, but he was posting some weird photos. I'll just say that, bro. Just go look at his Instagram and tell me he's not a little fruity. You know, he's on the Peyton Talbot side of the spectrum, if you catch my drift. You know, but he's over here fighting Jesus from The Walking Dead. I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Walking Dead, but Kyler Phillips over here. I'm going to be picking Venicious Olivera simply because of the fight with Kyler Phillips and Rob Font and the fight with Pedro Munoz. Now, Kyler Phillips versus Pedro Munoz was way too competitive for my liking, and Kyler Phillips versus Rob Font beat the shit out of Kyler Phillips and fraud checked him bad. Venicious Olivera, I like the momentum that he's carrying into this fight, especially beating Said Nurmagomedov, someone who is super, super well-rounded, not related to the fucking brothers, and he also beat Ricky Simone, and Ricky Simone used to be he still is a really good bantamweight in this division, you know, and he also has one of the knockouts of the year last year against Bernardo Sopage, where he landed a flying knee up against the cage. So I like Venicious Olivera in this fight. I like his striking. I think he has a lot more volume than Kyler Phillips, who kind of just stands around sometimes when he doesn't get his way in the fight. We've seen Kyler Phillips lose before in the UFC to Paiva and to Rob Font, and he had a close fight with Pedro Munoz. So I am going to be picking Venicious Olivera to get it done. I think that he's just going to win by decision, out-techniquing Kyler Phillips the whole fight. The next fight on this card is Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. And I'm going to say this, bro. I was very, very tempted to pick Michael Johnson in this fight. And to be completely honest, I think that the odds should be a lot closer than they are. Because I don't think that Daniel Zellhuber is that good of a UFC fighter. I think he kind of just aura farms on the fact that he is from Mexico. I mean, he lost to Trey Ogden, who we know is objectively horrible. And he lost to Esteban Ribovic, split decision. That was actually one of the fights of the year, UFC 306, if you guys remember correctly. They literally, third round, they just went out. Ribovic went out there and was just landing like a 100-punch combo on Daniel Zellhuber. But the reason I say this fight is closer than people think, bro, is that Daniel Zellhuber, he gets hit a lot, bro. Like, he gets hit more often than not. And Michael Johnson, yeah, it might be Michael Johnson, but he has some crafty wins. You know, he beat Mark Diakes. He beat Darius Flowers. He brutally knocked out Ottoman Azaitar. We keep talking about this Azaitar guy. Just get the fuck out of here, Azaitar. But I'll say this. If this was like prime Michael Johnson, I think stylistically Michael Johnson poses a lot of problems to Daniel Zellhuber, especially his power. I think that when Daniel Zellhuber faces someone that has like the ability to put someone away like Michael Johnson does, there is risks for him in this fight. But at the end of the day, Michael Johnson is washed. He's the unk version of himself. He does have the same ratio wins to losses as Zellhuber in his last 5. But you look at the level of competition they're fighting, it's night and day. I think that Michael Johnson has a really, really good shot in this fight, but it's not enough of a shot for me to pick him. I think Zellhuber will find Michael Johnson's chin, who he has been a bit chinny as of lately. So I am going to be picking Daniel Zellhuber to knock out Michael Johnson in the first round. But if Michael Johnson wins this fight, don't be surprised, because I think stylistically he poses some problems to Zellhuber, but I don't think that he's going to be able to get it done just because he's an unk now. So the next fight on this card, this is on the main card, by the way. 0-1 Patricio Pitbull versus 2-3 Dan Eay. This is the main card of UFC 318. I am going to be picking Dan Eay to win this fight because he's not washed. All right. Now, Patricio Pitbull, I know we make fun of Bellator fighters a lot, but Patricio Pitbull used to be a very, very good fighter, and he'll probably go down as the best Bellator fighter He has the most title wins in Bellator, I'm pretty sure. That was a stat I saw somewhere. But he's washed. He's 38 years old. We saw again the Yair Rodriguez fight. He looked frail. He looked like he was complaining to the ref after literally anything happened. I don't think that he's going to be able to get it done. And it's going to be sad, and people are going to clown him and be like, this is why Bellator is fucking dog shit. And it is. But I think it more has to do with the fact that he's 38 years old and he's past his career. And he's fighting Dan Eay, who, mind you, goes to close fights in all of his fights. He knocked out Sean Woodson. It was a really bad stoppage. Could have been 1-1 going into the third, and Dan Eay probably could have won a decision. It could have been 2-0 Woodson as well. But, yeah, he beat Sean Woodson. Lerone Murphy fight, he dropped Lerone Murphy in the first round. Could have gone to him. Honestly, the second round was close. Lerone Murphy went on to beat Josh Emmett. So, lost to Diego Lopez. It was on short notice. He didn't get finished by Diego Lopez on a couple hours notice and beat Andre Fili, and he lost to Bryce Mitchell. But he could have won the Bryce Mitchell fight on damage because Bryce Mitchell just did a lot of laying on top of Dan Eay and not throwing anything, really, just kind of camping him, So, and I hate to say this about Patricio Pitbull, but he's just not a good level UFC fighter, all right? So I'm going to be picking Dan Eay to win this fight by decision. The next fight on the card, the feature fight. Man, this is such a good card. Am I right, guys? Kevin Holland versus D-Rod as the feature fight. What the fuck are we doing in the UFC, man? I'm going to be picking Kevin Holland to win this fight. Now, I have complained a lot about Kevin Holland in the past. Being inconsistent, showing up to fights, acting like he doesn't really care. Especially the Wonder Boy fight. That's when I really kind of started to switch up on Kevin Holland, because I was like, you could have easily won the Wonder Boy fight if you actually cared about your career. But you just decided to strike with Wonder Boy. Like, I get it, bro. You wanted to give the fans what they want. But at the end of the day, bro, I'm picking you to win fights. I'm putting money on you. You're just going to fucking let him stand up, bro. Like, you're an idiot. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that Kevin Holland has made a career resurgence. It seems like 170-pound Kevin Holland is here to stay. He lost to Roman Dolidze, weird injury, and then he got subbed by Rainer DeRader, and I think he finally said, bro, if I don't start winning fights, I'm going to get cut from the UFC. It's time to go back to 170. He picked up a win against Gunnar Nelson, dropped Gunnar Nelson brutally in the first round, fucking subbed Vicente Luque. It was beautiful. Put him in a anaconda, I'm pretty sure, and he just choked Vicente Luque out. And now, we were all saying we think Kevin Holland should get a jump up in competition because he has the longest reach at 170. He's a big guy for the division. He talks a lot of shit. He has personality. Colby Covington versus Kevin Holland, that was like a very easy fight for the UFC to try to put together, but ultimately, that's not the fight that ended up getting made. We ended up getting Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Now, D-Rod's on a 2-fight win streak of his own, beat Santiago Ponzinibbio, but he went to a really close fight with Alex Morano, who is fucking ass. I'm going to be picking Kevin Holland to brutally knock out Daniel Rodriguez in the third round. I think that D-Rod might even get a second round, maybe. I think this will be kind of competitive until Holland finds his shot, because D-Rod has crisp boxing, but I can honestly see just Kevin Holland taking this to the ground and beating the fuck out of D-Rod on the ground. So that's kind of what I see is what's going to happen, is that D-Rod is going to be trying to do his crisp boxing. He doesn't really have other tools in his tool bag besides his boxing. And Kevin Holland's just more well-rounded. He has submission threats. He has knockout threats. He has the ring. He has kicks. He has grappling. So I'm going to be picking Kevin Holland. He can win this fight any way he wants. Decision, sub, or KO. I'm just going to think he's going to take D-Rod down and maul him on the ground. So I'm picking Kevin Holland by knockout. The next fight on this card, we got Paulo Costa versus Roman Copilov. I am going to be picking Paulo Costa to win this fight by decision. Now, I know what you're thinking, bro. Paulo Costa has not won a fight since 3 years ago against Luke Rockhold, and he barely won, and it was an old Luke Rockhold. And to that I say, that is very true. That is a true thing. That is a statement. And he was an undefeated fight. He was 13-0 when he fought Adesanya. Brutal finishes. He is super well-rounded. And I think that Paulo Costa is going to show a better version of himself in this fight. Now, this isn't like Paulo Costa fighting a young, up-and-coming prospect. Roman Copilov is 34 years old. He's strung a bunch of wins together. But ultimately, what he has shown is a lack of ability to grapple. His grappling is atrocious. Chris Curtis took this guy down. Cesar Almeida, I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correctly, he was fucking him up on the feet, and then pretty sure that Copilov was the one shooting takedowns on him, which is crazy. In the Anthony Hernandez fight, he landed a good body shot against Fluffy at the beginning of that fight, but ultimately Fluffy was able to take him down. And so I kind of like the success that Paulo Costa has been having against these higher level opponents versus Roman Copilov just beating a bunch of cans and going to close decisions with cans. So, like, for example, the Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa fight, it should have never been a split decision, right? Strickland clearly won, but Costa still landed a bunch of good shots on Strickland in that fight. It was really boring, but he still landed good shots on Strickland. In the Whitaker fight, if you remember, at the end of the first round, Paulo Costa had Whitaker doing the fucking jelly dance leg. He was literally like he was crip walking in there, you know? You know, when this guy's not on Twitter and he's locked in on a camp, I think that he's actually pretty good. Now, this fight was originally supposed to be on UFC 317 and it got moved. And that's another thing about Paulo Costa, is that he actually has more canceled fights than actual fights. And that is somewhat alarming, but I look at Roman Copilov, who is one-dimensional. He doesn't have any ground game. The fight against Chris Curtis, bro. He went to war with Chris Curtis. And yeah, he found the finish, but it really shouldn't have been a finish. And honestly, it could have gone to the scorecards and been a Chris Curtis win, bro. I'm going to say this, bro. I don't think Roman Copilov is good. I think he's kind of hit his ceiling. And I think even a declining version of Paulo Costa, who has good grappling and well-rounded ability, will be able to defeat Roman Copilov. I mean, I'm just saying this, bro. Like, split decision... Like, not split decision, but like, this guy was getting pieced up by Curtis, and Curtis isn't even that good, bro. So it's like, the guy's losing to Strickland, he's losing to Whitaker, he's losing to Adesanya, and this guy's going to a split decision with Chris Curtis, a split decision with Cesar Almeida, losing to Fluffy Hernandez. I'm going to be picking Paulo Costa to win this fight by decision. I think he'll take Copilov down, and then once the threat of the takedown's there, I think he'll land some strikes of his own on the feet. Copilov will win a round in this fight, but I think that ultimately Paulo Costa is going to get it done. So Paulo Costa by decision is the pick. The next fight on this card, I am going to be picking Max Holloway to beat Dustin Poirier via 48-47 decision. I'm going to say this, man. I'm going to be cheering for Dustin Poirier in this fight. He's my favorite fighter of all time. And I don't know, man. I met him in person. He was super cool when I met him. I'm from like the South. I live about 2 hours from New Orleans. So I've just been a big fan of Dustin because he's from Louisiana and he's a hometown guy or whatever. I wanted to go to this card really badly to see his last fight. But at the end of the day, bro, this is a prime version of Max Holloway versus a not prime version of Dustin Poirier. Now, the first fight between them, when it was Max Holloway's debut, we don't even look at that. That fight doesn't factor into this at all. They are both completely different fighters. When you look at the second fight between these two, Max Holloway was having a lot of success on that fight on the feet, and Dustin worked in a little bit of grappling, was able to open up the striking against Max Holloway and won that fight because of the grappling. And not just because of the grappling, but he landed harder shots against Max. He like kind of dropped him at one point. But at the end of the day, bro, this is a prime version of Max Holloway, who won 2 rounds against Ilia Topuria versus Dustin Poirier, whose only wins have been Michael Chandler, washed Conor McGregor, and Benoit Saint-Denis. You look at who Max Holloway has beaten. It's people like Arnold Allen, people like Korean Zombie. I know Korean Zombie kind of sucks. He beat Gaethje, who knocked out Dustin cold. And I know it's like the whole thing, Dustin's never lost 2 in a row, bro. But you can't put like fucking farces into your breakdowns. You can't just be like, bro, he's never lost 2 in a row, so he's not going to lose this time. It's like, he's 36 years old. This is a retirement fight. Those never go well for anybody. Anytime it's someone, it's like, this is a retirement fight. This is his last fight. They always lose unless your name is Robbie Lawler. And even Robbie Lawler, he's rumored to come back and fight Mike Perry and bare knuckle, which is dumb as fuck. Max Holloway is in his prime right now. Like, here's what I'll say. If Dustin Poirier and Ilia Topuria fought each other, do you think that Dustin Poirier would get to the 3rd round? Nah, man. This version of Dustin would get knocked out in the 1st round. And I know what you're thinking, bro. He went to a close fight with Islam Makhachev. The rounds, it was 3-1. Dustin won 1 round. He was losing the 5th round. He got choked out in the 5th round. He won the 4th round because he landed that big shot on Islam that ultimately cut him open. But that was the only shot he landed the whole fight, man. We can't be like, bro, Dustin went to a close fight with Makhachev. He did. He had some success in that fight, bro. But ultimately, these are 2 different styles, bro. Makhachev is a grappler who has striking. Holloway is a striker. Pure striker. And I guess you could say that Dustin poses some stylistic matchups because you look at everyone that Holloway's lost to. Volk 3 times. Dustin himself. And Topuria. They are all really, really good boxers. And you could say that maybe that Dustin is just a bad stylistic matchup for Max Holloway. I think that this is an old version of Poirier, not in his prime. He looks a little bit slower. Like, this guy lost a round to Benoit Saint-Denis. Like, that's fucking... like, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, I want to pick Dustin, and I see how he could win this fight because he's going to be a lot bigger. But I think that Max Holloway at 155 is a problem. The Max Holloway we saw against Justin Gaethje, we're going to see him again against Poirier. And I do think that Poirier is a better technical striker than Gaethje and a better stylistic matchup. So I think that it's going to be closer than the Gaethje fight, bro. But ultimately, I think that Max is just going to be too fast for Dustin. He's going to land... I mean, he literally lands more shots than anybody else besides Joshua Van, by the way. Shout out Joshua Van. But he literally just... I just think he's going to overwhelm Dustin. Like, he's 36 years old. Tail end of his career. He's been in so many wars. I mean, Max has too, but, like, Dustin has been in more. I'm just going to have to pick Max Holloway in this fight. I hate to do it because, like, dude, this is my house, dude. Dude, you just got here, Max. I've been here, man. Respect, but that, this is my house. We're going to find out. July 11th, we're going to find out. I hope Dustin wins this. I love him. Nothing against Max. Dustin's just my favorite fighter, but I got to be a realist. I think Max Holloway's going to get this one done. So if you like the video, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube shit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.